All right, it's time to talk basketball, and there's a lot of basketball to talk about. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thepeachbasket.net. He is Steve Purciello, host of Celtic Chalk Talk, a longtime educator, vice principal, high school basketball coach, and athletic director. And this is the Shot Clock Pod. The Shot Clock Pod was born out of Content and Steve's 13 Rules, random NBA thoughts articles, which he publishes weekly. Steve and I have exactly 24 minutes to discuss what's on his mind around the NBA. Today, we'll discuss a theme that he started a couple weeks back, and that is the changing landscape of the NBA. We discussed the East over the last couple of weeks, and this week we're going to start talking about the changing landscape in the West. We're also going to talk a little bit about LeBron, who's no longer in the West, but that was the biggest shoe to drop this week, so we can't not talk about it. But we wanted to let you know, of course, if you're listening to this, thank you. This is one of the independent fan-driven shows on the Peach Basket Podcast Network. We're not owned by a big media company, which means what you hear comes straight from real fans who live the game every day, just like Steve and I do. If you believe voices like this should be heard, the best way to support is simple. Keep listening, tell a friend, like, comment, subscribe. It all means the world. And of course, when this episode ends, head over to the Peach Basket Podcast Network, head over to peachbasket.net. Check out more fan run podcasts and help this independent network grow the way it started organically, one hoops fan just like you at a time. We're grateful that you are here. All right, let's talk about the West. Steve, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Hey, clock is ticking. All right, now, like we said, the first thing we want to talk about is not necessarily the West, but LeBron's final destination. Now, you wrote quite a bit about that, and we've talked about LeBron a lot in the time we've been doing this show. And you called LeBron's decision, which shocked a lot of people. I know it shocked you. You called it a ring chasing decision. Now, I want to ask you something, and I mean this sincerely. Isn't the intent of everybody who signs an NBA contract to win a ring? That's the goal of every franchise. That's the goal of every player. When you're outside hooping, you don't have the ball and count down three, two, one. He won the division. You play to win a championship. Why is it wrong for LeBron to
Well,
make this decision for the best
let's
team?
think about it. He's
Yeah,
40 something years old. He's
that's
played
right.
forever. He's statistically, he's the greatest player ever. He's one of the greats, of course. The big knock on him is he only has 4 titles. Jordan had 6, Bill Russell had 11, Sam Jones had a bunch. All these guys had more, and I'd get another title. But here's the rub. When Bill Russell won them or Jordan won them, they were the best player on their team. Is LeBron going to be
Yeah,
the best player of Philly? No. So to me,
right.
what's he doing? So he can now, if he can win a title or two, he can walk and say, I've got as many titles as Jordan or whoever. So how could he be better? Whatever, because I've broken every record
Yeah,
statistically. And it just gets ridiculous. He's a great player, there's no doubt. But what he's
yeah,
done is really taught other players to look around the league, see who the best team is. Let me go to that team when they're free agents, if they can. And what that does, it ruins the league. It really does. It's great that players have the autonomy. I'm not against free agency or any of that, but it just changes everything in the league. And the worst thing was we
yeah.
waited weeks for LeBron's big decision. Everybody
Right.
waiting. Come on, he's a 40-something-year-old man. Just okay. Good luck.
All right. And I'm gonna stay on this devil's advocate run because I think it's interesting and fascinating. We'll probably never see another player like LeBron James again. But can't isn't it fair to say LeBron's earned the right to do this? He like you said, statistically the best player in the game, more points than anybody, more seasons played than anybody who's on the way. He's earned this. What's wrong with him doing this at this point? It's not Kawhi Leonard could do this necessarily. It's LeBron James. Hasn't he earned that right?
Yeah, of course he did. Of course he has every right. But don't you think that he shows a little bit about himself with a situation like that? Going home to Cleveland would have
Yeah.
been the nice story. Going back to
Yeah.
Miami would have been wonderful because Riley and him, and they'd be back together and amend the bad feelings when he left. Going to Golden State would have been pure fun because it would have been a bunch of older guys playing, And who knows what could have
undeniable.
happened
Yeah,
there. That would have all been fun. He has absolutely no affiliation with Philly, except they did get
yeah.
Jalen Brown. They have Maxey, and they have Edge. And if Embiid's healthy, they've got a pretty good team. So that's the only affiliation. And come on, and it tells you a lot about his mind or how he looks at things. No sentimentality. It's all about. It's a very, honestly, a very selfish mind. Let me win another title. I want to be what Jordan or Kobe did, so I can say I won these titles. Not only did I have the best statistics, just remember, he's still not the best player on the team anymore. So now he's chasing. He's not leading. I'm disappointed.
So much. Yeah, all right. No, I get it, and it's coming through. I do think that, and I'm not reading into this. I think LeBron and his team have said this. Have said this. The Sixers were chosen for a couple of different reasons. Number one, because it was a good fit, right? When you look at that starting lineup, LeBron fit really well into it. But the other one, and I think this is interesting. Do you remember where LeBron's team said before, if the Knicks hadn't won the championship, he'd be a Knick, right? Because and when it came down to where he made his decision to come to LA, it was between the LA and the New York Knicks because he wanted an opportunity to play at the Garden and to say I was the guy who brought them their first championship since 1970 or whatever. The Sixers haven't won since 1983. So I think it was a twofold thing, and I think again LeBron and his camp has been really clear about that. It's a great fit, great starting lineup, and if LeBron, and to your point, it wouldn't be LeBron necessarily that got him this championship. But if they win it, LeBron's going to get credited for being the piece that got them over the hump and first championship since 1983. And I think that's what LeBron's chasing more than that
Oh,
title
so
is the
you're,
fact to say, listen, I brought this
you're
to championship
saying
when they
saying
quit.
that LeBron likes to be out front and get all the credit. I agree. I agree totally.
Okay.
I to,
Okay.
this move reminds me, and now I'm going to use my being old. In 1968, the Lakers traded for a guy by the name of Will Chamberlain, and they put him with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. And they
Yeah.
thought that was a title.
They won a
That
championship.
was a title. No, they didn't the first year. Um, they lost in the playoffs to a better, not a better team. The Lakers were the better team.
Right.
But you know what? There was a lot at that time. There was a little bit of disharmony between Wilt and West, and they learned to get along. But they didn't win it. They lost in the finals to the Celtics. And this don't give the trophy to the Sixers yet. And I wouldn't want to be Mr. Nurse because he's got a lot of problems there. Who's going to be the defender? Who's going to go out and guard other team's best player and not get the ball as often? You only got one basketball. Who's going to is Embiid going to be happy protecting the rim, which he's still struggling jumping because of his knees? And is he going to be happy
Yeah.
being his primary role is to rebound? Okay, if they can fit and find those roles for each, obviously Jalen Brown becomes the defender because Maxey's not a great defender and
Right.
Edgecombe's just learning.
Yeah.
So what are these people? Is Jalen Brown last year? It was his show in Boston. Now he's going to become a defender. This isn't going to be easy. And Nick Nurse has got some tough issues he's got to get through, and I'm
Yeah.
sure he doesn't know who's what and where. And don't forget, LeBron was great defensively in his day. He
Mm-hmm.
not that good anymore defensively. So where are you going to do this? And it's going to be interesting to see if the players, if they accept roles that are given by Nick Nurse, they'll be fine. I don't know
Yeah.
though. A lot of them, every one of them has been
Yeah.
a star, and now they're not. So it's going to
Right.
be.
Right.
Don't sell the championship or don't give them the title yet. Yeah, they have the
Yeah.
most talent in the league, but that doesn't always win. You need two or three role players on a team, and the Sixers just really don't have that.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's a recipe for
So
Nick
you are.
Nurse. If it doesn't work, he'll be on the unemployment line.
See, that's not right, but you're it's correct.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just not right. Now you harken back to the Celtics, the 1960s. I'm gonna harken back to the Lakers of the early
I knew
2000s. They
you'd go
both
back
did.
to the
They both.
Lakers. I knew you'd go back to the Lakers. But go ahead.
You went back to the
Go ahead.
Celtics. It just seems fair
No,
play.
it's not. But go ahead.
It's fair play. But the early 2000 Lakers built a dream team just like this. They had the greatest
Yep.
center of his era in Shaquille O'Neal. They had this up and coming stud in Kobe Bryant. And then they needed a point guard. They got one of the best in Gary Payton. They needed a power forward. They got one of the best in Karl Malone. They built a great team. And they started 28-3 or some ridiculous number, if I'm not mistaken. And they made it to the finals. And just like the Lakers of Wilt that you called out, they lost in that finals. And that was it, because it was a one and done for that team. And I'm kind of seeing the same kind of vibes here, if you will, with the Sixers. They built a great starting lineup. I think if they all buy in, just like you said, it's going to be important. I remember Gary Payton famously said, "You guys have all scored 20 points in your career. How you? There's only one basketball." Gary Payton said, "Why can't we all score 20 points?" And they kind of almost did. They figured it out. I think the Sixers are going to be okay. I think they're going to get off to a great start, but it's a long season. And they're going to make some noise. They might make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Obviously, there's a lot between now and then, but winning it all, I just don't know. Before we move on from
No.
this, because we've spent a lot of time talking about this already, but you talked about the teams that he spurned, right? Miami Heat, Cleveland Cavaliers, Golden State Warriors. You could even throw in the Minnesota Timberwolves, which apparently they were in play. Of those, let's call them those four teams. Which one is the worst off for LeBron spurning them? Which one do you
It's a
think?
tie between the Heat and Golden State.
Okay.
Yeah, Golden State, they were saying the old gang will ride again.
Would have been cool.
Miami,
Would have been
Miami
cool.
needs players. They have a real problem. I wanted to point out one other thing too, though. With LeBron, and he's from what I'm reading or whatever, he's talking about this is my last contract or last time. People don't realize
Right.
he's got an option, his option at the end of the year. It's a 2 year contract, but after the first
Two
year,
year.
he
Yeah.
can opt out. So don't
Yeah.
fall for all this is my last big decision because we might be doing this again next summer. If let me just say,
No, thank
If
you.
Philadelphia struggles and they don't do well, LeBron might
Yeah.
get the weather vane out and see where it's pointing and who's got the best team, and he might try this again. So let's not say, "Oh, that's his last time."
Yeah.
Oh my God! No, I am sure that he enjoyed this summer putting everything stopped around him. He didn't
Yeah.
name himself the chosen one for no other reason. This is him, and we've got to deal with this as an NBA fan.
Okay. All right. LeBron fans, it's Steve Purciello, Pursiello, just so it's clear. On
CIA.
we go.
What?
Ah, darn it. All right. I was trying to save you some hate mail,
I
but
don't care.
all
It
right.
doesn't. I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people see it the same way as I do. I heard. I don't remember somebody saying that he's chasing a ring. Might have been Stephen A. or one of them people, but someone else. A couple people have said that it seems like he's
Yeah.
chasing a ring. It wasn't. I'm not original in my thoughts. I'm disappointed.
Right,
I'm
right, right.
disappointed.
No,
But
yeah, I get it. I think if nothing else, the Sixers are going to be
oh
must-watch
yeah.
TV for sure. They're going to have a Christmas game to be
Oh
sure,
God.
and it'll be very interesting to see how things
I
play out. But there's more. Oh, go
no
ahead.
no. I envision them playing either opening night or the Christmas. One
Oh,
will be
sure,
Boston and one will be the Knicks. Either
sure. Oh
way,
my
whichever
gosh,
way,
I'm excited.
yeah, whichever way, because the Jalen
Yeah,
Brown back in Boston is a nice story, or Brown,
sure.
whatever. Celtics, that's a story,
Yeah,
and then you go to the
sure.
Knicks. The Knicks are the champs, and now you got
Yeah,
the team that's competing, and that would be if that's a Christmas game, that would be a highlight game at whatever prime time would be because there's a
yeah,
lot, especially in the NBA. Smart, they'll hold off the Knicks playing Philadelphia until Christmas night, or Boston playing
yeah.
Philadelphia until Christmas night. It draws more.
Yeah, no doubt. NBA schedule company or algorithm or whatever does it now is having a field day with all the possibilities. It's going to be interesting. Now, at the risk of making this a LeBron only show, let's keep going because more went on. There was so much more to talk about. I know we're not going to get through all of it today. Let's go to at least one more. The San Antonio Spurs came this close. And I want to really clarify that statement. They literally came this close. The difference between the Knicks and the Spurs was just a couple of points. The Spurs needed a closer. They didn't have it. They thought they had it in De'Aaron Fox. They didn't. So they went out and they got Tobias Harris. Is that enough? Wimby took less, right? With thinking in the future, we're going to need to retain Castle. We're going to need to retain Harper, which is great. But did the Spurs do enough? Do you think? Are they the favorite in the West? I don't know. What do you
I think they're the favorites. And let me ask you this: has Dylan Harper played the best basketball of his career? Has Stephon
think? No.
Castles played the best basketball of his career?
Right. Yeah,
Has
yeah. I got
Wembenyama
you.
played the best basketball of his career? They're going to get
Good
better.
point.
And now they've got what they needed would be the veteran who can calm the mess down when things are sinking.
Yeah.
Think back to the Knicks playoff series. The difference in the series was the Knicks were able to close the game out. You
100%.
got to
Yeah.
think that experience for San Antonio plus Tobias Harris should be enough to compete for anything as long as they stay healthy.
I think you're higher on Tobias, and I like Tobias Harris. He had some great years here with the Clippers. Followed his career certainly when he was here. I like him. He's a vet, but he's not the kind of guy that I think of that I want the. You don't want the ball in his hands at the end, and that's what the Spurs needed. Somebody who, like you said, who's going to calm things down, have the ball in his hands, and make the right decision. That's not Tobias
After
Harris.
Cade Con-
More on.
After Cade
Go ahead, bud.
Cunningham, who was the clutch player on Detroit and who got the ball down the
Tobias Harris.
stretch? Yeah, and he did well.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Okay.
you know what? And Cade Cunningham's great, but they didn't have a lot else. San Antonio's got a lot else to play. So I think it's a
Yeah.
good move. And I also, more importantly, think that those three guys I just mentioned are going to get better. And De'Aaron Fox is a good basketball player. He can't play as poorly as he played in that series. I don't think it's possible. So now you start thinking
Okay.
about it, and Keldon Johnson didn't play well, and he's a good player. So you start thinking about it and say, you know what? This team's just going to get better in the future. And I think anybody who before the year said San Antonio would get to the finals, no, they're not ready yet. That's how I felt. Well, they were,
Sure.
and they just touched on it. I'll give you a parallel. It's baseball parallel. In '96, the Yankees went to the World Series and they beat the Braves after falling behind 2-0, losing two games at home. Nobody thought that team was at their peak or really good, but they managed to win the World Series. But not only that, though, their best years came after. And that's what I'm saying with San Antonio. Nobody thought San Antonio would be here, but they did. And their best years, barring injury, will come in the future. And by the way, next year is not even their peak year. It's not for another 2, 3 years.
That's wild. Yeah. You're talking about a team that just made it to the finals,
Right.
and they're still 2, 3 years from their peak.
Yeah.
That's scary. That's scary if you're in the West. All right, let's talk about the team that was there a couple years back, and that's the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now they won it. We knew they were just going to get better, but now things are starting to kind of, I don't want to say crumble, but parts are dropping right off of the Thunder, and you called this out. You said the Oklahoma City Thunder are this year's victim of the dreaded second apron. They lost some peripheral players. Now, I don't mean that disrespectfully. They're peripheral players, but you need these peripheral players to win it all. Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, great shooter. Lou Dort, great defender. A, a personality dude. This is the guy who kind of sets the tone for your team. They're gone, and they made a difference. What do you make of the Oklahoma City Thunder? Are they should be reaching their peak right about now? Is it crumbling in Oklahoma?
Well, something to think about. Boston traded Jaylen Brown this year. Why? Because I believe the thought would be that you can't win with two max players and then fielding a roster around them.
Yeah,
How many just about max players does Oklahoma have? Three, or they will as it kicks in. So that leaves you very
yeah.
little money for the rest of your team. That, I think, and Oklahoma has made the commitment to keep those three guys, and that's great. However, what you're going to have to get rid of a lot of your bench. And One of the strengths of OKC was they had a million guys that can play, and they just lost a couple. Isaiah Joe's a really
Yeah,
good shooter. They lost him. He
yeah,
was a great guy to bring off the bench to change things. And they do have some young players like AJ Mitchell who don't doesn't get paid a lot of money, but it's still what happened with that NBA, that CBA, the agreement they made. Every year something like this is going to happen. That's not fun. Lou Dort, his career was made in Oklahoma, obviously, and they had to get rid of him. I'm sure they didn't want to. And those people who are looking at this, just be ready. In a year, Brunson's going to get big money, because he took a cut basically to put this team together. His turn's coming. And Carl Anthony Towns, unless Carl Anthony Towns says, I'll be the hero and take very little less money, the Knicks are going to be in the second apron. They just signed Bridges. They just signed Anunoby to good contracts. They're going to be the next team. Okay, who do we get rid of? And it's just not right. It's not right for the game. Towns came from somewhere else. So did Brunson. But they become Knicks. And that's what they'll be remembered as, Knicks. And if you have to deal, it's not right. It's like the Jaylen Brown thing, and it's like what Oklahoma is trying to do. And it's just not right. That CBA, the owners like it because it keeps the spending down, but the fans have to hate it. You're taking away
yeah,
players from teams. And I would think Philadelphia is going to go through the same thing in a year or two. With Jaylen Brown, they're going to have to make a decision in 2 years on, or next year, probably next summer, they have to make a decision. There's so much going on here
yeah.
that it's just not good.
We talk a lot about the CBA and the fact that we're stuck with it, I think, through 28 or 29, something like that. So no change
Right.
imminent. But I'm thinking now, do you need how many players, how many great players do you need to win it all? Right? Do you need one? Do you need two? Do you need three? Right? You just said that the Thunder have committed to three really good players. That should be enough. If you get three all stars, three studs, and you fill them with some minimum, which is what the CBA is forcing you to do, minimum salary guys, that should be enough.
I don't think so. I think what Oklahoma is banking on, and they have a bunch of draft picks in the future, what they're banking on is keeping these three guys, and as guys get more money, make more money to get them out, and keep these three and work around those three guys with your
Yeah,
draft picks and with your
right.
young people. That might be the only way. And they're smart enough, like I said, to have a lot of draft picks. Generally, when a team rises to the level of their level, you've traded draft picks, you've traded everything to get there, and you don't have that anymore. The Oklahoma is a different story, and I think that's their thought on why you can pay three guys. Do you need three stars? No, I think Boston won with two. I think Denver won with two. So I think it can be done if you get the right people around them. And they're well,
Is Jamal Murray a star?
what I think Murray was a
Jamal Murray a
yeah, I think
star?
he was a real good player. I think for them, the pick and roll, him and Jokic was impossible to stop. So I think, yeah, and he could score. And then they, around Gordon, played a great role, and the players around him did well. In fact, Gordon has priced himself. He's making big money, and he's not a star, but he's a great role player.
Yeah. Yeah, we talk a lot about how hard the GM job is for sure. And you're right. You don't need two. You could win with two. You could win. I will say Jamal Murray is not necessarily a 1A. He's a 1.5. So the Denver Nuggets proved they could win with 1.5. It's all about getting lucky. It's all about building the right team. It's all about staying healthy. But the Thunder have, we should call them the big three. It's Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, and Jalen Williams.
There's there's
Um,
an interesting. Let me just. There's an interesting
mhm.
situation building in New York, and it's early. But Jim Dolan, the owner, has already said he doesn't want to go into the second apron. The Celtics took a shot, went in the second apron with the same team that they won the title with. They didn't win it. They got beat by the Knicks in the playoffs. And then they look, if we're not going to have a shot at winning, we're going to get rid of people. If Dolan is saying that now, the Knicks won't even take a shot for a year by going into that second apron. So that means he's going to have to begin to get rid of some players. He lost Mitchell
Mhm.
Robinson this year. That's a big loss. And he's going to have trouble he's got Drummond, which he's a good backup, but he's not Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson got the Knicks more possessions on his rebounding, his offensive rebounding particularly. So that's where we're going here. And it might be the Knicks now. And in a couple of years, San Antonio will be in the barrel when Dylan Harper's contract comes up. And don't forget, De'Aaron Fox is going to be making $60 million. So start doing the math. And unless ownership
Yeah.
commits on going into the second apron for a year, it's just going to continue to happen. And I guess the goal would be for the NBA, one title, you don't win two in a row.
Yeah, I do kind of think that is the goal and mission accomplished, right? We haven't had a repeat champion in a very long time. You heard the buzzer go off. That's it. We've got so much more to talk about, but we're going to come back to it. We're going to talk about the Lakers. They're a different team, but are they a better team? We're going to talk about the Wolves. We're going to talk about the Nuggets. We hinted about that a little bit. We're going to talk about the Rockets. We're going to talk about the Suns. We're going to talk about the Blazers. A lot more to talk about in the West. This has been a really busy off season, and it's going to be really interesting. Lots to talk about. So join us next week when we do all of that, talk about all of those teams. Oh, and I left out the Warriors too. I'm going to talk about the Warriors. But you heard the shot clock go off. Our time is up. As always, thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure to listen, or rather to read, Tease entire 13 Rules NBA Thoughts article. We'll link it wherever you're watching or listening to the show today. Matter of fact, take a read at that. Take a read at that. I don't know if I like the wording. Read that before you come back next week, and you'll be ready for the conversation. And of course, join us then when we talk about the rest of the changing landscape in the Western Conference. Steve, we'll talk next week. Thank
Take
you.
care.